Hello, everybody. One of the most famous libraries, centers for the study of African American culture, and I think I do a disservice to it when I say Afro-American, because it's more than African American. It's called the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, and that is very important because Schomburg himself was Puerto Rican, Afro-Puerto Rican, obviously. He was a teacher. He started out teaching Spanish in New York, and became a writer, became very, very famous during the Harlem Renaissance, and became very powerful, made some money, and was very, very interested in what the Harlem Renaissance was all about, and that was revitalizing African American culture. But Schomburg went further. Since he came from Puerto Rico, he was looking worldwide. He was looking to Africa and everything that came from Africa, no matter where it went, in the Caribbean or in Asia or in Europe or in the Middle East, where most certainly in Americas. But he wanted it to be holistic. He wanted to be Pan-Africanism in its approach. He wanted to be connected in a worldwide network that connected this history across continents and millennia. Before it was the Schomburg Center, it was simply an extension of the New York library system. And in 1901, Andrew Carnegie agreed to donate $55.1 million for the construction of a new library branch, and part of it would be for this purpose. In today's money, that's around $200 million. And he had to pretty much give the money to the city, and so the city could purchase the property and do the construction necessary to make all this happen. This is 1901. America was quite different in 1901. We're, 35 years past slavery? It's a totally different place. In some ways. In some ways, not so much. By the 20s, a new head librarian was hired in New York City, and the first thing she looked at that troubled her was the fact that the entire staff of the New York library system was 100% white. And with a growing population of blacks, with the Harlem Renaissance and everything else, the Jazz Age, all of it, this was something that she just found unconscionable. So she hired the first black, and that person was strong about the need for the library system to support black people. So now we have a slow stocking, purchase, availability of literature particular to African American interests, Negro interests at that time, beginning to grow. And during this woman's tenure, her last name was 'Rose, more African Americans were hired, And over time, they rose in prominence and position, had more control, and pretty soon you had a branch library that was actually headed by a black librarian with some autonomy. So now we can really start moving things along. And one of those very first meetings, charting the path for this project, there was this gentleman, Mr. Arturo Schomburg, who took an interest in the project. He had quite a collection himself. He was a writer himself. He was immersed in the Harlem Renaissance. And so they started to work together to build a collection. And as demand grew, so did the archives. And over several administrations, finally, around 1980, we got the building on Malcolm X Boulevard, between 135th and 136th in Harlem, that is known as the Schomburg Center. It is divided into 5 different departments, covering 5 different approaches to research and archiving of material particular to Black life and Black culture. Jazz is a part of that because in a previous segment, I revealed that a major portion of the archives from the ill-fated Jazz Museum in New York, or New York Jazz Museum, ended up as a part of the Schomburg. But the Schomburg is much more than just jazz. Books, manuscripts, photographs, movies, artifacts, all sorts of recordings, original manuscripts, one of a kind, you name it, it is there. And if you want to have a real deep dive into Black culture, you can do it no better than at the Schomburg. And while you're there, you can take a deep dive into what remains of the New York Jazz Museum. Thank you very much. I hope that you will do some research on the Schomburg, the person, and the center. And I hope the next time you're in New York, you will put it on your to-do list, your bucket list, if you will. It is more than worth it. Your life will be transformed. Thank you so very much.